All right, go ahead with
George Pell.
George Pell.
George Pell. If you don't know who he is, a little backstory. He's 78 years old. He was born 8th of June in 1941. He is the Australian prelate of the Catholic Church, which means he holds a high-ranking role in the Australian Catholic Church. He's the Archbishop of Melbourne, 8th Archbishop of Sydney. He was created Cardinal of Australia in 2003. He's also on the Council of Advisors for Australia. Studied in Rome, Oxford, and later at the Monash University. He's lectured at Oxford and Cambridge. He's an author to a number of books. Was appointed Companion of the Order of Australia at one moment, which is the Order of Australia is an order of chivalry established on 14 February 1975 by Elizabeth II, Queen of Australia, to recognise Australian citizens and other persons for achievements or great service. So, you look at that and you go, good resume.
Hold on. Can you go through a couple of his... so, he studied at Oxford.
Studied in Rome and at Oxford, and then later at Monash University in Melbourne.
And then he lectured at Oxford.
Oxford and Cambridge. Lectured at Cambridge. So that's a bit about who he is, but why is he in the news?
So he is the highest ranking member of the Catholic Church to be charged and indicted on sex crimes.
In June 2017, Pell was charged in Victoria with multiple historical sexual assault offences, which he denied all for reasons like fundamental defects in evidence. But on 11th of December, which is why it's in the news, 2018, George Pell was found guilty on 5 charges related to sexual misconduct involving 2 boys in the 1990s. Pell's bail has been revoked and he is held in custody with sentencing scheduled for 13th of March 2019. There's been a suppression order. That's why the media hasn't heard about it. There's been a suppression order which was lifted just a couple of days ago. I think last Monday or Tuesday, and it was huge.
Yeah, I think they lifted it because they realised that, like, with social media, and I don't know who leaked it, but someone's got to have leaked it, and they've just realised that the suppression order is not going to work anymore. So I just want to address this for a couple of reasons, and I think it's good that you really wanted to address this too. It's interesting because the first trial that he was subjected to was deemed a mistrial because the jury could not agree to a guilty verdict. But in the retrial, he was convicted by a jury of 12, and he's now appealing the decision, right? So I'm going to bring up the ABC article on it. With Cardinal Pell in custody for the sexual abuse of choir boys, his high-profile supporters continue to voice their doubts about his conviction for abuse. On Wednesday, former Prime Minister John Howard and Australian Catholic University Chief Greg Craven gave positive character references on behalf of Pell. Fellow former Prime Minister Tony Abbott revealed he'd spoken to Pell after the verdict was revealed on Tuesday, and Melbourne Archbishop Peter Comensoli said he had remained Pell's friend and said, "I don't shy away from that." Now, my first thing is, like, if you're John Howard, he released his statement on Wednesday in support, and Cardinal Pell was convicted on Tuesday, right?
It's pretty fucked.
Now, if I was John Howard, here's the problem, right? The problem is that one of the reasons that they have come out and said that the evidence was not as good. Hold on. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just keep reading it for a minute. Several criminal lawyers who spoke to The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald on the condition of anonymity said they were astonished at Pell's conviction given the apparent lack of grooming, the short window available for Pell to abuse the boys, and the robes he was wearing, which had no split-eye openings. Now, for me, those are minor issues. If you want to do those kinds of things, you're going to find a way. Like even if you're going to lift the whole frock from the bottom of the floor. But I don't know. I don't even know if that's possible.
As a man, I know it doesn't take long.
Yeah, but then again, I've never worn a Catholic priest's dress, so who knows? So continuing, Pell's victims were 2 13-year-old St. Kevin's College students who were choir boys at St. Patrick's Cathedral when they were assaulted in December 96 and February 97 after Sunday Mass. While one of the victims gave evidence about his abuse, the other man died several years ago from an accidental heroin overdose. He never reported the abuse, and the court heard denied anything had happened to him as a young choir boy when he was asked by his mother. Through a lawyer, the man's family said they finally understood the torment that led to their son self-medicate with drug abuse. Victorian bar president, which is like how lawyers have to pass the bar.
Yeah.
So the Victorian bar president, Matt Collins, said it was, check this out, said it was highly unusual for a conviction to be made on behalf of a victim who had never reported abuse. That is true. Now, quote from Matt Collins, no one can recall a case where the accused person was convicted of an offence against the deceased person of this kind. However, he said it was crucial to note that the court had found Pell's crimes were committed against two victims at the same time. Therefore, Dr. Collins said Pell's legal team had been able to cross-examine the evidence provided by one victim on behalf of the other. So I don't know how legit that is, but
I guess if you convict him for the one, then the other one has to be true because it happened at the same time. So if you find him guilty on that, maybe. I know.
Maybe.
I know how the law works.
I'm
happy that they found him.
Well, this is the thing. I'm not into guilty by association, and I'm not into guilty just because of accusation either. The problem is that because he's a Catholic, there's a whole lot of buzz surrounding them because of their history of pedophilia and sex crimes. And they are sex crimes, and they're fucking heinous. And frankly, if you're a Catholic, I can understand the cognitive dissonance that you're going through. But, hey, try to say something to the church, yeah? Maybe stop giving tithes to the church until they sort this shit out. How about that? Now, Pell supporters believe he has become a lightning rod for anger at the Catholic Church's failure to protect victims from sexual assault. Pell is such a polarizing figure, says Jesuit priest Frank Brennan. There are those who would convict him in the court of public opinion no matter what the evidence. During the trial, Judge Kidd stressed to the jury that Pell could not be personally held responsible for the failings of the church. However, Pell's defense lawyer, Robert Richter QC, told the court his client was seen as the Darth Vader of the church. What do you reckon of that? I agree with that because Pope Francis, he's a benevolent emperor. And then Pell is pretty much the Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Now, he did not put Pell on the stand to give evidence in his defense, a decision leapt on by Pell's critics. But legal sources said this is standard practice in trials for serious criminal contact like sexual abuse and murder. Juries are also routinely directed not to speculate when people standing trial are not put on the stand to defend themselves.
That makes sense.
Now, the living victim gave evidence via video link to the court during Pell's first trial in a session that was closed to the media to protect the victim's privacy. That hearing was declared a mistrial after the jury could not reach a verdict, but the man's evidence was played to the jury in Pell's retrial, also in a closed court. Only those present in court know what the victim said. That convinced the jury of Pell's guilt. The Federal Royal Commission into Sex Abuse in Institutions withheld its findings on Pell's role, ignoring abuse and moving pedophilic priests to other parishes while the case was being heard. I actually like that because here's what I think. If you're going to convict him of doing that, you have to convict him the right way. If he's guilty, get him the right way. You can't tip the scales because you think that justice is going to be served. So I like that they're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
And I've got to be honest, man. I'm happy that if he is guilty,
I'm happy to say he is guilty. He was convicted. I don't think I'm that type of, like if he's convicted, I don't want to sit here and go, oh, these accusations, like they're made clear. He's been found guilty in the eyes of the law. So to me, he's guilty. Like he's a fucking pig. If that's what has come out of the court, like I have to have faith in the Australian law system. So I won't sit here and say, oh, accusations. Like he did this. He's been found guilty for it. Yeah, fucking hope he rots in prison.
Yeah, me too. I think. Oh, do you know what I hope most of all? Here's what I hope. This is what Stalin did. Here's a lesson in history for you guys. What Stalin did is he would, with the former members of his cabinet and the communist, the leadership team of the Communist Party, he would just erase them out of photos and history. That's what he'd legit do that. I think it would be a good idea for the Queen. Hey, Queen Elizabeth, how about you rescind his Order of Australia? Hey, Prime Minister John Howard and Tony Abbott, how about you rescind your character reference for him if his appeals are not successful?
That's what I don't like. How can you give a character reference to someone who's been convicted guilty?
Well, because some people... Well, and this is kind of a different issue because of the nature of the crime it is. But I've had mates that have been convicted of dumb shit, and I think they're good blokes. They just fucked up. Now, having said that... in the 90s, he was in his 40s, I believe. And when
Pell?
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 Yeah.
No, in the 90s, he would have been
In his 50s?
Yeah, 50s.
All right, so he's in his 50s, which even brings a stronger case to the fact that you're no fucking fool when you're in your 50s. And if you are, well, it's probably not a good thing. But you don't stumble into a 13-year-old boy's mouth. And here's the real problem with it. So this wasn't just fondling, it was actually oral penetration. And that makes me sick. It really makes me sick. Not least because of the fact that it was done, first of all, by a priest, a man in a position of power, but also because it was done to underage kids. And then you've got the fact that he had the audacity to think that he could do it and get away with it. That's what makes me real angry. And I'll tell you what makes me even angrier.
The whole thing's fucking gross.
Yeah. What makes me angry is that because the Catholic Church has such a hold on power and a sway, not just political, but also social, right? You got over 1 billion Catholics in the world still. Because they do still have such a sway in the public sphere, and this is the main reason it's so hard to reform them. Do you know how old the Catholic Church is?
No, fucking
1,700 years old.
old as fuck.
Yeah. So, and it's really hard to, like, for example, Martin Luther, when he led his Reformation, had to make a breakaway church. He started the Protestant Reformation, right? He didn't reform the Catholic Church. He just had to start a new church.
Yep.
And so the problem here is that it's like everyone wants quick results, but it can't happen that way, right? So let me ask you this. Tell me one thing that you think that would stop pedophilic priests.
Let them get fucking married.
Yes.
That's something I've heard
Yes.
all week. Like,
Yes.
you can't excuse what he has done. It's fucking disgusting. There is no excuse. Like, absolutely none.
But there is reasons.
But there is reasons. And one of them is sexual frustration.
Yeah.
I myself couldn't imagine going 50 something years
Yeah.
to the point without sex.
Oi.
Yeah. Let priests get married. And a lot of these Anglican churches and a lot of these other churches are allowing it. And I think it will only be time until Catholics allow it. Because no one wants to be a priest anymore.
Yeah.
You have all this stigma about being a priest and you're being a pedophile. Who the fuck wants to be a priest anymore?
Yeah, exactly. Do you know
you
that?
can't have sex. You can't get married. Everyone thinks you're a pedophile. There's a lot of big changes.
I'll tell you what.
Church need to make.
Yeah, that's true. I'll tell you what. If I was a parent and I was raised Catholic and I had kids, I wouldn't be leaving my kids in any fucking church. Nah, not with a priest.
And it's just, it's like, I'm sure that 99% of all priests out there, like, again, you can't take one person and judge everyone that's a priest from it. But fuck, it's always in the back of your mind, though.
Yeah.
It's always there.
Yeah. And the problem is that, like, so you've got two possibilities. The first possibility is a consequence of the fact that they can't get married and the fact that they are in power leads them to the worst kind of sin. Because here's the problem, right? And I'm speaking psychologically, not theologically, for all those smart enough to understand that. See what that was a cocky move right there. I shouldn't have done that. So psychologically, sin is what draws you away from God, right? And theologically. Now, but psychologically, God is the thing that you value most. So whether it's money, whether it's career, whether it's family, like your kind of your ideal of what you want in life and where you want to go in life, that is sort of, and in very, very loose terms, God, right? Sin is what draws you away from that. So, for example, when you're wanking all the time and watching Pornhub all the time, that's sin, not because it's intrinsically makes you a bad person, but because it leads you away from having a healthy sexual relationship with a woman or man, right? Now, in terms of sin in George Pell's case, he was going to sin anyway. And I'm going to sin and you're going to sin. We're all going to fucking sin. We're all going to do shit that we shouldn't do. And we're all going to do shit that is going to lead us away from the goal that we have, right? The problem is that when you get some motherfucker in a position like that, their sin is so much worse. It's the same with presidents. It's the same with leaders of any huge organizations. It's the same with, like, you look at, I don't know if you guys know about Frank Houston. So, do you know Hillsong Church in Sydney?
No.
So Hillsong Church is one of the biggest Pentecostal churches in the country, and it's run by a man named Brian Houston, who came from New Zealand. Brian's dad, Frank, also was a minister and also got done for accusations of
Sexual misconduct.
Sexual misconduct, yeah. And then there was another guy, Jimmy Swaggart in America. There was another guy, I can't remember his name, but like they just get busted in the worst situations, right? With the wives of the congregation, and it leads to that David Koresh moment, or that what's his name, Jim Jones, like as soon as you put a person in a position of power, and then you say that you must do what I say, because if you don't, I'm gonna give God the bad word for you. I'm gonna get in God's ear and pray against you. It's so easy to manipulate them, right? So I would encourage, if there are any parents watching this, which there's fucking not just yet, but if there are any parents watching this, and I might do a sound advice on this in the future, don't protect your kids from the world. Don't protect them from the world, because you can't. You cannot protect your kids from shitty teachers. You can't protect them from pedophile priests. You can't protect them from getting stolen.
I try and hope so.
No, but hold on.
Yeah.
You can't protect them from getting stolen in a van. You can't protect your little girl when she's 18, when she's going out doing dumb shit. She's 18 years old and she's going out to a club and she gets roofied by some fuckwit, right? You can't protect her from that. You can't. Life happens to all of us, and you are doing your children a disservice, and you are disrespecting their abilities and their capacity by trying to protect them. Don't do that. Instead, prepare them. Prepare them. Tell them that priests, tell them, do not trust anyone in these specific situations. So, for example, if I have a daughter, and then she's walking down the street and a guy pulls over to give her a ride, don't get in the car.
No.
If a priest asks you, never be in a room with a man that's older than you by yourself without a video camera, right? Even with a camera, even with CCTV, don't go into that room by yourself. Like, I personally, I don't like to hang around females, especially in the Me Too generation. I don't like to hang around females unless there's either someone there or there's CCTV, and I know that it's recording. And also, especially because of the work I do doing security, because you don't want accusations. The problem that Pell has is that when he does sin, it's so much worse because he can.
Back to that position of power.
Yeah.
It goes so deep. It goes so deep.
So now, back to the point.
Back to that position of power.
So now you've got that people in that position with those restrictions on marriage and that kind of thing, that they tend to cross the line because they don't have any other outlet. Or B, you've also got the fact that people that have bad intent go into this role, right? Because they understand that it's a position of power. Like, dude, I've been in situations where, one of the reasons I know I think I'm a good man, but there's always room to improve, right? But my intent, I believe, is always pure. And the reason I think that is because I've been in situations where I could have hurt people and I didn't. Like, I could have taken advantage of the position that I've been in, whether it's with women, whether it's financially, whether it's emotionally, whether it's just manipulating people.
Or just kicking out a drunk bloke at the pub.
Oh, no, well, just using the power I have disaccordingly. And I think that, but look, it's not just down to me. It's down to the fact that I was raised by a fucking good man. Like,
your parents fucking matter.
Yeah, I have a really, really, my father is the best man you don't know.
Now, all right, so let's just conclude George Pell for a second here. He's been convicted of sexual conduct, which is absolutely fucking disgusting, and I hope he rots in jail.
Oh, just on what I was saying before I got sidetracked, because that's always what happens. I hope he's forgotten.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
I really do hope
that. Yeah.
There is nothing worse than being ignored, and there's nothing worse than being forgotten.
Yeah.
Because that means that you don't exist.
Yeah, I like
George Pell, here's to you, mate. I hope you are forgotten.
Yeah.
I hope your sins are forgotten, and I hope the good things that you have done, because you're not all evil. I'll give you that. You're not all evil, because no one is all evil, right? Even Pablo Escobar had a family, right? And so you're not all evil, but I hope the good things you have done in the past are no longer attributed to you. Mm-hmm. I hope they are just remembered as the good deeds of someone that we now forget.
Yep.
I really do hope that.
I hope you're right, Joe.